is the story of how me being gifted completely ruined my life. It started at age 1, when I taught myself how to read. My dad was so proud of my abilities that he invited a local newspaper reporter to our house. They made me read a passage of James Joyce's Ulysses, which is quite a difficult book to read. I ended up on the front page of our town's newspaper, me, a baby in diapers, trying to hold up a 700-page book. Ever since then, I've been praised for my extraordinary achievements. Whether it's straight A's in school or dividing 8-digit numbers in my head, everyone was in awe of me, and my classmates referred to me as the Wonder Kid. One of them even asked me if other kids seemed like idiots to me, to which I responded, "No, of course not. Everyone is smart in their own way." But in my head I thought, actually most people do seem kinda dumb and weird to me. For example, in 3rd grade, my annoying classmate Yolanda constantly pretended to have some new injury. She claimed she had a condition that made her bones brittle, and whenever she fell, she'd be in incredible pain. But really, she just wanted attention and to be carried around by the boys in our class. Well, one day, a boy came crying into school. Turns out his grandma died the day before. Everyone felt bad for him except Yolanda. She had to be the center of attention again, so she made up a story about how her grandma had also recently died, but in a much worse way, namely a brutal car accident. Suddenly, all attention was on her again, and I had enough. I called her out on being a dumb and annoying liar. Unsurprisingly, she didn't take it well. She screamed back at me saying, "I hope your family dies in a car accident too." I have to admit that she was a good actor, because all the other kids took her side. They didn't see that Yolanda was nothing but a dumb little attention seeker. Unfortunately, this incident isolated me even further from my peers, because now everyone thought I was cruel and heartless. You see, I really wanted to have friends, but it was impossible because I had no shared interests with my classmates. The girls only gossiped about celebrities, and the boys only cared about sports. I was the only one who was into science and math. I was a loner, and turned more and more into a target. Not so much because I was smarter, but because I was both smarter and prettier than the other girls. It was too much. When on Valentine's Day, I was the only girl that got a love letter from an anonymous boy. All the other girls were super envious, especially Yolanda. The day after I got the love letter, she came to school wearing makeup and tried to win over the most handsome boy in our class. I cringed so hard seeing her so desperately craving the validation of a guy. But here comes the banger. The boy she approached told her that he didn't like her and that he was actually into me. It turned out that he had been the one who'd sent me the love letter. He rejected her in front of the whole class. And while the boys started laughing at Yolanda for having been rejected, she started crying. I felt so bad for her. I never wanted to be the special girl or stand out. I wish the boy had never sent me a love letter at all. And you can imagine how after this incident, the girls in my class only hated me more. At the same time, school was too easy for me. I was constantly bored in class and developed all kinds of behavioral issues, like becoming a smartass who always corrected her teachers if they said something wrong. Sometimes I even embarrassed them by calling them incompetent, suggesting they should find a new job. One time, for example, we were supposed to learn how to take care of a human baby by taking care of an egg. We all got an egg that had a face drawn onto it, and that was signed with a pen by our teacher. We were supposed to protect it for a week to prove we could take care of a human baby. To me, this experiment was perfectly ridiculous and stupid. Obviously, taking care of an egg has nothing to do with taking care of a real human baby. All you have to do is put that egg back into a refrigerator to keep it safe. So I thought it was funny to buy another egg, paint a face on it, stab a pen into it, put it on the teacher's desk with a sign next to it saying infanticide. Paint a face on it, stab a pen into it, put it on the teacher's desk with a sign next to it saying infanticide. Now, we were only 5th graders, so our teacher immediately knew that this was my work, because none of my classmates even knew what the word infanticide meant. So she turned to me and said, "This will go on your permanent record." I responded that there was no permanent record, and that it was only a made-up myth to scare kids. I told her as soon as I left primary school, no one would know about what I'd done. She completely lost it, but to me it was amusing, a welcome change to the usual boredom I experienced in everyday school life. However, worse than being hated by my teachers and ostracized by my classmates was that I've never learned how to focus for long periods of time because I understood everything within seconds. Unlike my classmates, I never had to sit down for several hours to understand something. From primary school right up to college, I got an A+ in every math exam I ever took without having to study for it. In 9th grade, I even got into the top 10 in the Math Olympiad in the U.S. To celebrate, my parents threw me a party and invited all my family over. I was the whole family's pride, and they'd talk about me someday making some big scientific breakthrough or becoming the CEO of an international conglomerate. Of course, it made me feel very special, But looking back, I wish I hadn't been praised for being born a prodigy, but instead been encouraged to figure out what my interests are, and then to become an expert in that field from a young age on, while also developing a good work ethic. Because right after college, I got a great job in engineering, a six-figure starting salary. I knew that if I worked hard for 1 or 2 years, I could even get a promotion and become a manager. But I didn't have the discipline. It's been 5 years now, and I'm still stuck in the same job as before. I finish my work normally within 1 or 2 hours because it's so easy, and then play video games on my PC. I was able to convince my boss to get me my own private office by claiming I was hypersensitive to the noise of my colleagues, and that I could focus better if I had my own private room. But actually, I just wanted to play video games without having to worry about being caught. I'm not happy, though. My whole family has high expectations for me, and I know I have the potential to exceed in life, but I'm just a lazy bum. So in the eyes of my family, I will always be an underachiever, which is frustrating. However, one big advantage of being known for being really smart is that some boys are really into it. When they hear I was once a child prodigy, they immediately think about the amazing children we could have together. And even though it's kind of creepy to be seen as some sort of DNA carrier by other people, I don't really care. When I go to a bar and talk to a handsome guy, I can easily impress him with some math trick, like multiplying 2 8-digit numbers in my head. I know it's a bit cringy, but I only do what works, and trust me, there are many guys who go crazy after genius women. And this brings me to my last topic, dating. All the guys I've dated in my life have been significantly less intelligent than me. One guy I dated in college even thought that the whole world was North America, and even though he was stunningly handsome, I couldn't listen to the stupid things he kept saying. And so one time, I made up a story and told him I recently had an operation on both my ears, and therefore couldn't hear anything at all. Finally, he actually stopped talking. A couple weeks later, though, he went through my phone and read my chat with my friend who wrote, "Are you still dating the dumb hot guy who looks like Harry Styles?" I responded, "Yeah, and I love his hair so much." Well, he was really offended by being called dumb. I told him I loved him, but the next day he shaved off his hair in an, I have to say, unsuccessful attempt to look unattractive. Then he asked, grinning, "You still love me now that I'm bald and ugly?" He asked, grinning, "You still love me now that I'm bald and ugly?" It was almost cute how dumb he was, but only almost. You see, you can date someone and still feel lonely. And that's the worst part about being highly intelligent. It doesn't matter that there are 7 billion other people on the planet if only a handful are like you. A handful of people that you'll probably never meet in person. I have so many thoughts and ideas on my mind, but nobody to share them with. I have an almost perfect memory, but it always makes me dwell on the past and all the opportunities that I've wasted by being lazy. I guess there are 2 sides to everything. Positive and negative, light and darkness. It's nice having a high IQ and being able to learn quickly, master multiple disciplines with ease, to see the world in a richer way than most people could ever dream of. But you'll also be lonely and misunderstood most of your life. Sometimes I wish I was born dumb, especially on family gatherings. I'm sick of hearing the same old questions again.
Have you already gotten a promotion?
Or,
why don't you raise capital and build your own startup? You have the talent.
yuck! Just let me be an underachiever, please, because I'm not very good at handling pressure.
I was about to leave church when an old couple approached me. They looked very friendly and invited me over to lunch at a nice restaurant. There, they asked me if I already had a boyfriend. When I said no, I don't, they showed me a photo of their son and asked me if I was interested in going on a date with him. I responded, "He looks like a great guy, but this is a bit too awkward for me." "If you come eat dinner with our son, we can pay you $1,000. And if you become his girlfriend, we can pay you much more." I had a bad feeling about this and wanted to say no, but I also needed the money, so I agreed. We all met up at the same restaurant the next day, and I took a seat right in front of their son. His name was Matthew, and he was really handsome. We talked for quite a while until his dad whispered into my ear, "You have to flirt with him harder. If you ask him out on a date, I'm going to pay you another $2,000. "But why do you want me to do that? He's a handsome guy. I'm sure he can find a girlfriend himself." "That's the problem. Right now he's dating a psycho girl that has been arrested several times. You have to use your beauty to seduce him and steal him away from her. And if you're going to become his new girlfriend, we're going to pay you another $50,000 in cash." To be honest, I felt definitely attracted to Matthew, so I kinda enjoyed seducing him. I laughed about his jokes and kept smiling at him. But when I asked him out on a date, he said, "I'm sorry, but I'm already dating a girl." I didn't give up, though, and said, "That's okay, but can you help me move out of my apartment tomorrow? I need someone strong to help me." I could tell he was hesitant, but he was a nice guy, so he agreed to help me. Of course, there was no real move-out, so I had to fake one. It was a complete waste of time and energy, but after he had brought all my furniture into a truck, I told him I had a special reward for him. I took him out for a private picnic in a small garden. It was very romantic, and I was wearing a very tight top. We were laying next to each other on the grass talking for hours. The vibe was so good I asked, "Can I lie on top of you?" "What do you mean?" And then I just went on top of him, saying, "Sorry, my back hurts. I need a pillow." I could feel he enjoyed it, so he stayed like that until the sun set. Our date ended with us exchanging numbers, and just 2 days later, he called me up asking me out on another date. I gotta admit, I felt like a superhero. Not only had I successfully seduced a handsome guy, but I had also rescued him from a psycho girl. When we finally became an official couple, I went to his parents to collect my $50,000 reward. Fortunately, they gave it to me without hesitation, even though the dad asked me, "Will you continue to date our son?" I responded, "Probably yes, but I can't guarantee anything." "Look, you're the perfect woman for our son, and we would love to welcome you into our family. And if you're gonna marry him someday, you will never have to work another day in your life." "I'm sorry, but I won't marry someone for money." "Are you sure? If you marry our son, we can give you $500,000 as a wedding gift." "Are you sure? If you marry our son, we can give you $500,000 as a wedding gift. And that's just the start." I really tried not to think about the money and only spend time with Matthew because I liked him. But the idea of never having to work again stayed in the back of my mind. And because Matthew was brought up with a religious background, he asked me to marry him after just 1 year of us dating. I immediately said yes, even though I can't say that I was madly in love with him. To make things worse, I still hadn't told him that his parents set us up as a couple. I was just too scared it would destroy our relationship. Once we were married, I enjoyed my new, relaxed, rich life where I didn't have to work. But it got so boring after a few weeks that I quickly found a new job as a high school teacher. And it was so much fun, especially because I met Derek. He was a math teacher, and I could never stop laughing when he made fun of me for only being an English teacher. Spending time with Derek felt like magic, and that confused me. Had I made a mistake by getting married to Matthew? I wasn't sure. But Matthew was already trying to get me pregnant. He really wanted a child, but what he didn't know was that I was secretly taking the pill. And then Derek asked me out on a date. Of course I said no, but when he asked me why, I didn't tell him that I was already married, and instead told him I was just too busy. When I arrived home that day, without thinking, I told Matthew that I wanted a divorce. Of course he was shocked. For him this came out of nowhere because he thought we were a happy couple. And I felt bad for him, but I also knew that it was the right thing to tell him. Unfortunately, he couldn't take it. For the next few days, he kept begging me to stay with him. Meanwhile, his parents wrote me dozens of angry messages insulting me. I tried to ignore them all, but Matthew followed me everywhere. I got so sick of him that I wrote him the following message. "Leave me alone. You and your stupid parents make me sick. Did you know that they paid me $500,000 to marry you? Don't get me wrong. I thought I loved you. But now, I know that I don't, and I'm sorry it took me so long to realize it." He responded, "How could you do this to me?" And then came to the apartment I was staying at every single night, hammering against the door. In the end, I even had to get a restraining order because while I was on a date with Derek, he came into the restaurant and made a huge scene, screaming at me and calling me names. Afterward, I had to tell Derek the whole story of how I had married Matthew. It was quite embarrassing, and I'm pretty sure he sees me in a different light now. I hope he isn't scared that I'm going to lie to him just as I've lied to Matthew.